Hey everybody, Mike Freeman here. Welcome to another edition of Thursdays with Mike. If you follow these, I am still in the same place and I'm still wearing the same clothes because I'm doing this video like 10 minutes after the last one. As I explained last week, I'm just helping out Mitchell to get ahead, and I've got all kinds of time on my hands out here. NIH is National Institutes of Health, and I've been here since the 21st of June. This is July 9th. And yeah, before this is all said and done, it'll be about a month. I did have a nice 8-day excursion in the middle of this where another trip we planned for 4 years took place. But this is kind of where I am. And so I'm not bothering changing clothes or location at this point. Although, I could do this. I can actually give you a different angle. Say, look, see how much I care about you guys. There we go. We'll just give you a different angle. And now you've got like a fan and this piece of art on the wall over there. So, whoa, different angle. All right, so I haven't read any further in Jefferson Bethke's book, To Hell with the Hustle. I'm going to finish it as soon as I finish recording these, and then some basically some recording for upcoming podcasts to help again Mitchell and Lindsay get ahead. So they can have their baby and this stuff can all be in place. I got like 2 chapters left in To Hell with the Hustle, Jefferson Bethke's book. Again, the premise of the book is we are driven by this mad hustle to achieve, to do, to accomplish, and so it's like this tsunami of pressure behind us, pushing us, driving us. And that Jesus went through life at a much different pace. He refused to be driven. He moved, on average, at 3 miles an hour. No record of Jesus riding a horse. Okay, a donkey into Jerusalem, yes. That might have even been slower, actually. But Jesus moved at a deliberate pace. And it was the pace of love. It was a pace at which he could walk around the Sea of Galilee and take time to watch a couple of fishermen mending their nets and sense the Father's direction in the moment. These guys, you want these guys. And then he calls them and he walks a little bit further and he sees a couple other guys. Jesus moved at a deliberate pace. That's the essential theme of the book. And this is the next thing that caught my eye that was just like, oh, this is good. Not a new message to me, but it was just he just puts it in such a beautiful way. And that is, it's in the chapters discussing the gift of the desert, which is specifically the gift of obscurity. We live in a time where we want to be noticed and we want high profiles with social media. We want to post out there what our experiences are, and we crave the likes. We want our videos to go viral and to be known and to build a portfolio of achievements and accomplishments, and to do it all by sundown if possible. So we're a driven people. And Bethke just makes the point. I love the subheading here. Be boring. Okay? Just be boring. And I said that for years as a family. It's just because we're not boring. Our family is not boring. At least on the level of like health. I would love to be boring, but it's like, we've been hounded by familial it's FAP, familial anemone or something, polyposis, and that's resulted in surgeries, multiple surgeries on our kids, and basically polyps grow in the colon, turn cancerous. The cancer spreads to the liver, and you die. And the only way you can deal with it is, at this point, is by removing the entire colon. And so my mom died of familial polyposis. I did not have a boring childhood of divorce. and then watched my mom die of cancer over the summer of '73, where she aged like 30 years in 3 months. She was 49 in so it wasn't boring. And then moved in with my dad, alcoholic stepmother. That wasn't boring. And then I end up with the same condition. I go through major surgery, have my colon removed. That wasn't boring. And then I'm going through colonoscopies on a regular. It's really funny. Okay, they're sigmoidoscopies. You can't have a colonoscopy if you don't have a colon anymore. But regular sigmoidoscopies, none of them were boring. The prep wasn't boring. And then this genetically, it's like 50% of chance of being passed on to offspring. We decided to have kids, ended up having 5. 4 out of 5 had it, and we are all gutless wonders now. Most of it, except for Rihanna, who just has to be boring and healthy. But yeah, it was 4 out of 5. And at this point, as far as like born grandchildren, we have 5 who have been born, and our youngest now is expecting a child. But of the 5 that we can actually see and get our hands on at this point, 4 out of 5 FAP. And it's like, our family is so not boring. It's like 50%. No, try 80%. 80% has been what it's been for us. And this then compounded, and that's being here at National Institutes of Health. Our oldest daughter's oldest daughter came up with a new kind of cancer to have, which is not boring. Adrenal cortical carcinoma strikes 1 out of a million, and it's even more rare with because she's diagnosed with this at like 9, and it's even more rare, and it's terminal, and so it's experimental, which is one of the reasons we're at National Institutes of Health. It's like a great laboratory. And so, no, not boring. And then Brenda, of course, has cancer, is diagnosed with that in the midst of this journey. This isn't boring. None of this is boring. So it resonates, the idea of being boring. And I don't post a lot about this journey just because I don't need the additional, because I'm talking about it here. But I don't need, oh gosh, let me be boring. Let me be obscure. Let's find obscurity. I'm doing this. I'm just tempted to turn this off right now because this is actually boring. So, okay, we're safe. Okay. So anyway, Bethke in his book, back to Bethke's point in the book, Be Boring, the chapter heading. Take the phrase, he says, living your best life. Okay, your best life now. It seems like that's a popular title of a popular evangelistic author. Your best life now. Living your best life. It's often accompanied with images of insane ambition and life manipulation and an idolatry of productivity. It's all about building a 7-figure business or trying this new way to hack sleep and morning energy levels, being obsessed with goal setting and never saying no to your own dreams and passions. It's mainly about being noticed. And so what's the big thing? What's your BHAG? I think that was in the Good to Great book, BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goals for a big, hairy, audacious life, and we serve a big God who wants us to do big things, which means we're going to build big ministries and live big lives. And yeah, Bethany says, and it's like, oh my gosh, no, okay. I personally stopped using the phrase entirely. This living your best life. I've stopped using the phrase entirely, along with all the other cousins of it. Be more productive, be the best you, scale your influence, chase your dreams. Okay. I've exchanged it for something that's been a lot more life-giving, and it's pretty simple. My new life mantra is be boring. Seriously, I have it written as a reminder right next to my computer. So if he was Pastor Trevor, he would have it as a post-it. Be boring, be boring. The next sermon you preach doesn't have to be the best sermon ever. Be boring. Just be boring, people. Because what our culture defines as boring or mediocre or wasteful squandering of talent, the scriptures and the way of Jesus define as quiet, beautiful, and faithful. Jesus chased obscurity. In fact, when he was in the limelight of his baptism in the River Jordan, heaven opened, Spirit of God descending like a dove. The voice comes from the Father above. This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. It's like he's bathed in identity and affirmation. And it's in a public setting. How public it was for everyone. Okay, Jesus and John at least saw it. Maybe others heard. They thought it was thunder like on other occasions. I don't know. But the thing is, what Jesus did, of course, is he didn't immediately turn this into a post. He didn't take a selfie. He didn't have a Facebook post. He didn't do a YouTube video that would go viral. As he used it as a platform to advance this big thing that God was doing. And I would say Jesus qualifies as being a fairly big thing. All of time is ultimately chased back. We might say common era now as opposed to before and after Christ, AD and BC, ACE, BCE, and so forth. But at this point, at least for Western culture, Jesus is like the point on which all time hinges. So that's pretty important, and yet Jesus chased obscurity. He went from the limelight of the Jordan into the desert, which is the place of obscurity. And then he was called out by John as he was walking away afterwards. He reappears, he's there at the Jordan, and John says, "Behold the Lamb of God." And as Jesus is walking away, he again is walking literally away from the public pronouncement. And you just have two individuals who are curious enough to follow this guy. The rest, they stayed with the guy in the limelight, which was John. People in the limelight end up getting their heads cut off. That's just a little sub-lesson there, I think, from the Gospels. Of course, obscurity led Jesus ultimately to a cross. Okay, anyway, we're all dead, one way or another. We're all dead. But Jesus chased the boring. Those two individuals followed him. Jesus turns around. He says, "What are you seeking?" Basically, "May I help you?" They said, "Rabbi, we want to see where you're staying." And he said, "Come and see." And they stayed with him that night. Jesus did his work with nobodies in a nobody place of Galilee. He lived in obscurity. And when he did miracles, he was constantly going, shh. He's doing this. Okay. He's doing this constantly. Turn that camera off. Just turn that off. Okay. And hush up. No posts. He didn't post, and he told people, don't post on Facebook. All right. He would not have worked social media. Maybe Paul would have. I think Paul would have. I don't know. But Jesus would not, because he's constantly, you will not hear his voice. You will not cry out in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not quench. And so Jesus pursued what is boring. So that's our model. Bethy goes into this. Jesus spent 30 years growing up in Nazareth, backwater town. Does anything good come out of Nazareth? Well, that is where he was placed. That's where he lived. 30 years, he had absolutely nothing to say. And then he shows up at the Jordan, and then he runs into obscurity of the wilderness, comes back, and then retreats into the obscurity of Galilee. And that's where he does his work, doing a circuit, it wasn't a Jerusalem, Alexandria, Rome circuit that Jesus worked. It was fishing village circuit of Capernaum and Bethsaida and then Chorazin. That was the Jesus triangle right there of the boring. as he just slowly built relationship and touched lives and basically confined himself to that primary triangle of the boring. Okay, I want to finish this off with Beth, because it was just, I mean, it's just hilarious, actually. At least it struck me so. Again, I don't have to worry about this video going viral because boring. Okay, what our culture defines as boring or mediocre or wasteful squandering of talent, the scriptures and the way of Jesus define as quiet, beautiful, and faithful. So I'm going to keep chasing boring because that's the thing that actually is allowing me to live fully. It feels anchored, slow, not anxious, full of joy, and steady, with a peace about it that I think only comes from the quietness of it. I'll just be over here saying no thanks to the internet onslaught of thought leaders telling me to do more and be more and achieve more. Nah, bro, I'm good. I don't want to life hack anything, and I don't want to cheat the work of life. What if God doesn't want me to do big things for him, like at all? What if he just wants me to talk to him and know him and live an ordinary life where I love him and my neighbors well? Boring is holy. Obscure is holy. Mundane is holy. Boring is not a sign of the curse, but actually a sign of intimacy. How do you judge the closeness of a friendship to someone? Why do you consider your spouse or your best friend or someone in your family the person you're closest to? There's a level at which you know each other that just can't be replicated or cheated or short-circuited. It happens slowly, methodically, over time, building one memory and moment upon another over years or decades. If you put me and a stranger in a room, I'll have to be on. And I'd love getting to know that person, but it's work because I don't know them. But with Alyssa, his wife, we can just sit there next to each other and not speak sometimes for hours. Our intimacy is so deep, the comfort has been built over years. Now, he's just been married for 8 years. I've been married for 39 this year. I may make it home for my anniversary, 39th anniversary next week. Fingers crossed. But the comfort has been built over the years. We know each other. I mean, we know each other and I would say, well, just wait, because I mean, that just keeps going. I mean, 8 years, it's like you're getting to know each other. But anyway, yeah, to know and be known is what we all are chasing after most of the time anyway. The longer we get to know someone and the deeper the intimacy goes, the more boring it gets. Yes, don't have an exciting marriage. Oh, God, no, don't have an exciting marriage. Boring. You want a boring marriage. Boring. Not the high maintenance of drama and excitement and having to do the next thing, always trying to up ourselves. No, boring. You want your marriage to be boring. You want your church to be boring. I mean, does this not drive our divorce? We're looking for that next exciting, thrill-seeking relationship. You want boring. Or does this not drive the church hopping? Because we're looking for that new oomph from this pastor or this whoa from the worship. No, you want boring worship, boring sermons. You want boring church and boring marriage. As he says, when I first started dating Alyssa, it was the most insanely exhilarating time in my life. I couldn't stop thinking about her, and honestly, there was a physical buzz in my body over her. I hummed internally with the magic of puppy love. And now, not so much. But guess what? I love her so much more ferociously and deeply and intimately than ever before. My love for her as a teenager, we were 19 when we met, doesn't hold a candle to my intimacy and love for her at 30. Boring and ordinary are signs of intimacy. All right, so there you go. I just want to testify to the truth of this. My marriage is incredibly boring, except for all of the health stuff. Having kids also tends not to be boring. Oh, God bless us with boring children. Please. Boring children. But no, you have kids, you're almost guaranteeing your life is not going to be boring. Why didn't they tell us this? We just kept having them, and our kids keep having them. Anyway, that's it. I'll just stop while I'm ahead. I've bored you enough with this whole topic. But, oh my, let it just sit there for a bit. How much are you being driven mad in your pursuit of that great achievement, that big thing that God wants you to do, and how utterly distressing how we use God to further drive and sanctify the insane driving passion of our culture to go do something big. The biggest thing we can do is just to be boring, people, because we're present in the little things and in the little boring conversations. Okay, I've got to find this quote because this is, I think, and I, oh gosh, who knows? Let's see. I may not be able to find it, but hopefully I can, because it just popped into my head here. He was talking about the church. I may just have to paraphrase this, but he was talking about how the church grows, and maybe it wasn't. Oh, okay, here it is. All right, here we go. All right, so here we go. Icing on the cake, on this boring cake. Christianity did not become a movement that turned the world upside down because a guy named Paul was crazy, brave, adventurous, and bold, and traveled the world to tell others about Jesus. Okay, that contributed, sure. Who knows what kind of ways it might have even hindered, but sure, it contributed. But the world got turned upside down because there were thousands of people who loved Jesus. People we will never hear about because they were boring, or whose names we will never know. Boring. But they ate dinners with the people around them. All right, the little things of life. Like Jesus, they walked along the Sea of Galilee and they saw opportunities for conversation and to draw people into those conversations, or they saw the two people behind them. Instead of thinking, stalkers, I'm going to walk faster, I need to lose these two, actually end up inviting them in, and you spend the evening together over a meal, having conversations. The little boring things of life are the biggest things. So be boring, people. Be boring. Follow my example in this boring video. Be boring. And we'll see you next time.